Welcome forward here, consciously creating circumstances with George Winslow, Plummer. This is Chapter 1, The Source of Power. It is evident that the great, successful, or happy people of this world have access to some power that obscure, unhappy failures know little or nothing about, quote unquote, a power which erring men call chance, quote unquote. Perhaps you think it's good, or just good luck, that brings success, and let it go at that. But you miss something very important if you think that. This is written for those willing to consider the possibilities that something other than just luck or heredity bestows happiness on one and failure on another. This book describes a method of attack on the problem of life that thousands of happy people merely average abilities have successfully employed. Yes, countless thousands, even though many of them did not realize what they were using. If you seek help and are not afflicted with a closed mind, you can use the same power that has served these people. I can and will tell you about it. We shall start with a few ideas that you and I cannot avoid agreeing on, and then base the rest of our work on what we mutually agree on is so. Let us, in short, quote unquote, consider the reason of this case, for nothing is law that is not reason, end of quote. As we look about us in the world, our senses inform us that it is full of objects of all sorts, houses, trees, people. We give the general name of things or forms to these objects. Closer inspection informs us that each object has its individual characteristics, such as odor, density, firmness, weight, color, and we find that these objects are made of the same substances in varying physical or chemical combinations. So we say that the objects composing our environment are made of matter, and the state in which matter usually appears is visible. Now, as we look more intently, we observe that there are other conditions in our world that are invisible. We see the fall of an apple to the ground from a tree. The cause of the fall remains invisible. Forces of many kinds are evidently in play. We do not see the forces or energies themselves, but they are the cause of all that we do see. What we see are the results called phenomena, or actions and states of being. Plants, animals, and human bodies change in size, but we do not see the energy that makes them increase. We observe people moving about, but we do not see what makes them move about. We think we do, but we do not see our thoughts. When we listen to the radio, send telegrams, speak over the telephone, or push a button for lights in our room, but we do not see the energy on the way. We see a hen pecking about the poultry yard. In a short time she lays an egg, which in due time becomes a chicken, and later that chicken becomes the full-grown bird, reproducing the process of life. A great drama of forces constantly unfolds before us. So observation teaches us, correctly, that we live not only in a visible world of matter, but also in a visible and invisible world of forces and energies that produce the visible things in our environment. We recognize these visible forms and we sense the invisible forces behind them through a power we call mind. No human being has ever been seen. Let me repeat that. No human being has ever seen mind, yet the existence of such a power is the most obvious thing in all our understanding. Everything in this world about us that man has produced began as a thought in the mind of some man. Your home existed in the builder's mind before it took form. Your car took form first in the maker's mind. Everything that we do, individually or collectively, begins first in the thought of the thing. No matter how sudden we do a thing at times, we think of it first. Sometimes we act quickly on the thought. Sometimes we have to wait until we can develop conditions favorable to accomplish. Also, we can look about us. We observe many forms of matter that were not produced by the hand of man, for they express characteristics that no human being has ever produced. Man cannot create a tree, for instance, or an ocean, or a robin, yet they too must have begun with a mind. In what mind and with what thought did they begin? Before answering the last question, let us look around us some more. We observe that the plant of yesterday is a bit higher today. The little child of last year is a little larger and abler. We note certain changes in ourselves with the advance of time. We cannot see what causes this increase in size, ability, etc., but the facts stare us in the face. Look again, this time at another class of things. That building begun a few weeks ago. It steadily increases in size. A railroad has increased its mileage. A bridge is ready for the last span. We can see that what makes them increases in the hand of man. So we have before us two different pictures of increase. One springs from the effort of man on the visible plane. The other is directed from some invisible plane and is not due to man's effort. These changes in our environment we call growth. We note that this growth is affected by man in some cases and by some other power or agency in other cases, but originating in some mind, somewhere, in every case. Now let us try to discover whether there are really two kinds of growth, one caused by man and one caused by something else. There seems to be two, but is it truly so? No sensible person believes that man just happened. He too is a phenomena, a fact, with an invisible cause. We have agreed that this cause can only be man or something other than man, but man did not cause himself. Something else brought him into being. Therefore, this something else causes not only mountains and oceans, which are beyond man's control, but also causes everything that man appears to cause, because it caused man himself to come into existence. Thus we can see that there is but one basic cause of all things that are or ever were. We therefore call it the great first cause. Some call it God, some call it Spirit. Whatever term we use, we remember that it operates through mind, and, since it causes all things, universal mind. Though some people tie this fact up with religion or theology, the acceptance of a universal mind is imperative from the standpoint of simple logic alone. All power comes from one source today, just as it did before the beginning of things. This great invisible cause acts through what we term universal mind, the intelligence directing all the forces that produced man, and through which man, on a much smaller scale, produces the various changes in his environment. such concludes chapter 1. Next chapter, dual action.